my name is Lisa B and I'm the Director of the Real Estate Hotline, and welcome to the Boardroom series and our podcast, Let's Talk About Real Estate. Today I'm going to be interviewing Matt Condit, and Matt is from the Professionals. He's one of the directors at Professionals Granger. Matt started in real estate in 1995 and he's been working at the Professionals Granger since 2000. Matt has sold over $100 million worth of real estate in his career. He's REI WA's #1 selling agent for Marangaroo, and he's actually appeared in my latest book, So Real Estate Agents, What You Need to Know Now. This book has got some of the top real estate agents in Australia, real estate trainers, CEOs of real estate franchises, and it's kind of like the handbook of how to be successful in real estate. So I'm a big believer that you can learn from anyone, and if there's anybody that you want to learn from, it's the people in this book. It's kind of they could do better, what they should have done, could have done, and what they're doing. So it's learning from what people do, and it's also learning from their mistakes as well. So that some of these people have been in real estate for 30, 40 years. I think that's about the longest that we've got. The most one person has been in real estate. There's a lot of collective years of real estate in this book anyway. Matt will be sharing with you now some additional tips as well as tips in the book as well. Really hope you enjoy the interview and let us know what you think. If you get the book, let us know what you think, and let us know what you think about the interview as well. Okay, thanks. All right, thank you, Matt, very much for joining us this morning. We had a few technical difficulties, but we got there. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, first of all, Matt, I'd like to know how you got into real estate. Everybody's got their own story, so I'd like to hear how you managed to get into real estate.
Sure. Basically just fell into it. I had a sales background originally from the States, as you can tell from the accent. Married an Aussie girl, and was looking to get into work here in Perth, and my brother-in-law had a real estate agency. And with the sales background, he said, well, have you thought about real estate? I said, sure, why not? I was cars back in the States, but it's all sales.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it all started, just kind of getting into it that way, and then just evolved over time to buying into the business with Jeff and my other business partners, and moving into a licensee role while still selling.
And you haven't looked back, have you?
No. I feel quite lucky. It's a pretty amazing industry.
Yeah. So how's your career transpired? Like from where you started to where you are now, how have you actually got there?
Sure. Well, the first, because started in 2000, the first 5 years or so was strictly sales, 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. I then started to move into business ownership. Mm-hmm. And then a year or two after that, move into the licensee role. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much just been kind of working my way up through the kind of the existing structure here. All my business partners are much older than me, so I'm kind of it's been a very good setup because I've learned from them. I've also been able to give them a lot of support, and I'm kind of their retirement plan as things move along.
Yeah, perfect. And so what's the major things that you've learned from being in real estate?
Look, it's a pretty simple one. I think the follow-up's critical. That's one where I've been better and worse at it at various stages of my career. But it makes such a difference, especially in this day and age where technology is kind of such a big pull. Remembering that this is a people person at the end of the day, and the sound of your voice, and letting people know that you're actually getting the info they need specifically, not just a bulk email to 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. So that follow-up's been critical. Just overall kind of service levels. I think real estate's much more about just doing the hard work, making sure that all the customers' needs are met is much more important than having the fancy scripts or specific ways of trying to influence people that way. Mm-hmm. It's much more about just having the high service levels. Mm-hmm. And then just because we deal with such high volume, you just got to be really organized. And that's something that some of us are better or worse at, but it's also something that all of us can learn. So just getting very kind of systemized and organized makes a massive difference.
Do you think a lot of real estate agents overthink real estate?
Yes. So in my licensee role, I'm fairly regularly getting my reps coming to me with some new and fandangled idea, which sounds great in theory, but then they haven't been calling their anniversary calls from a year ago.
And they would think that you're the old dog, you're the one that's not up with the times. But I think you're right. A lot of them kind of tend to overthink, and you've got to get back to the basics of find a seller, find a buyer, and match them up. Whereas people try and overthink and try and make it so much harder, don't they?
100%. I completely agree.
Yeah. So what would your perfect day in real estate look like? How do you organize your day?
Sure. Mine's pretty simple. I always liked kind of the very basic version of John McGraw's ideal day, which was I try and get in the office early, so 7:30, 7:45, something like that, and really try and minimize any appointments up until lunchtime. So that way you can get all your in-office meetings out of the way, all your follow-up calls, all of your, work that we, all got to deal with. And then from kind of, lunchtime onwards, you got the afternoon and evening is free for appointments. Now, there's always going to be some exceptions, but I do find it's a much more kind of efficient way to work to kind of, have a good solid few hours in the office rather than your half hour to hour here and there as you're bopping in between appointments all day.
Absolutely. So do you plan your day the night before, or do you plan it the morning of?
A bit of both. So I'll always kind of have the day before I'll have a look and, take care, as things are winding up, take care of what I need to. But it's a bit of a tricky one because sometimes, you're the day of, sometimes that's when your busiest time. So you're kind of, running from, mid-afternoon through till evening. And then, you're pretty much just kind of winding up and going straight home. So then those days, it's more would be in the morning rather than the day before.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, the morning of the next day.
Yep, sure. And what actions do you do religiously?
Sure. So the basics that are always kind of on there. So the buyer follow-up's very important. So the main thing that the sellers want to know is that you're doing the work, that you're keeping in touch. So buyers are always followed up until they buy the house, until they tell me they're not going to buy it for whatever reason, too big, too small, wrong suburb, what have you, or they don't call me back after I stalk them for a bit. And we can assume they're not interested. And that's reported to the seller throughout the week. So then if that's happening, then the seller trusts me and knows that it's being looked after properly. And that kind of falls into the next one. So just the seller follow-up reporting. So they get a complete progress report each week with number of calls, viewings, email inquiries, number of small and major websites, confirming what we're doing for the next week, any recommendations from my end, and a full list of every buyer who's been through, whether they're still interested or not interested. They also get basically a mini appraisal each week, just a list of what's on the market and what's, selling in their suburb. So that way they've got, really I want them to kind of feel comfortable that they know what I know, and that, because they're the ones who have to make the hard decisions as far as what to do about price and offers. So that really helps. And then probably the other one is with the follow-up, and this is one I've really taken from Lee Woodward's training over the years. It's an information-based approach to follow-up. So rather than calling, saying, "Hey, Lisa, are you ready to go to market? We've got buyers," and kind of the nagging, pressure approach. It's really just, did you get the latest market report we sent you? That one that sold around the corner was interesting compared to yours. Didn't have the pool, but had the workshop. What you think of that sale price? But that type of just keeping them informed. So I've got an excuse to call and keep in touch, but it's also, as best as we can, coming across as informative and helpful rather than stalking.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That was one of the reasons that I wanted you to go into my book, right? Because I saw that video that you had on your website, and you were saying that you promise, you guarantee your follow-up and all that sort of thing. So you're very, very big on the follow-up, which a lot of agents aren't. And I think that's what lets down the industry so much, is that we don't follow up enough. Like inquiries and things like that, you go through open houses and the agent doesn't follow you up, or you're inquiring about a property, they don't call you back. And that was something that I really liked about you, was that you're very big on follow-up, and it sounds like you've got a whole kind of system around that, which is fantastic. A lot of agents need to take that on board as well. Definitely.
No, Yeah,
Definitely.
agree
And I mean,
100%.
and that also becomes part of your prospecting, doesn't it? A lot of the agents are out there. And if you don't have warm leads, then you have to cold prospect, really. So
Correct.
your follow up would be a lot of that warm leads as well. So wouldn't it? Sort of you're following people up all the time and they become your next client. So is that where you
Yeah.
find you get most of your leads from your warm calls? Do you do any cold calls or?
I don't do cold calls anymore, but I've been doing this 18 years now, so hopefully the database is big enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so yeah, to a certain extent, yes, we are a primary first home buyer area, so we don't get a lot of sellers from our buyers straight away. We do get them from, the next time they come to sell, that type of thing. And yeah, the communication I just think is critical just because I remember reading years ago that the number one complaint against the industry from people who've sold in the previous year is lack of communication. So there's a few agents out there doing the wrong thing and, they end up on our current affair. But for the most part, it's not that they're not doing the job well. It's just they're not keeping the owners up to date with what's happening.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so no, it's very, very important from my point of view.
Exactly. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you for a big call. What's your prediction for what's going to happen in real estate in the next 5 years? Like we've got technology that's come in, we've got the interceptors, we've got discount agents, which have been around forever, the discount
Sure.
agents, just a different model now. But what do you see? What's your big call for the next 5 years in real estate? How do you think it's going to change?
Look, I think technology will continue to grow. You will have the disruptors like, as far as little businesses like ours, we can have some impact, but there's, when compared to, bigger ones like OpenAgent or massive ones like realestate.com, to a certain extent, they're going to call the shots. So I don't see it changing as far as us not having jobs, but I do see more and more internet companies will be trying to get their piece. But at the end of the day, we work for free unless we get a result. You need someone to connect with the buyer, show them, at least physically show them through, negotiate offers, that type of thing. So I think we'll always have a role. I do think it will continue to get more competitive, and disruptors not so much will put us out of the industry, but will definitely try and take their piece of things a bit more than it used to.
Yeah. I mean, I think with everything that's happening, like legislation tightening, with the CPD points being a lot tougher, like New South Wales are really kind of leading the way with a lot of that. But
Right.
I think there's going to be a lot less real estate agents around.
Yes. I would agree.
Do you think there's an oversupply of real estate agents at the moment where you are?
Well, there is. Like when you look at how many real estate agents there are in Perth versus how many transactions, you've got that classic 80-20 rule. And so with that, it really, where the industry will probably go is you'll have less agents overall doing more of the transactions, but standards will raise.
Yes.
And so that's, good and bad for the industry. You can kind of argue it either way, but I think definitely that's the way it's heading.
Yeah. So just I'm curious, when you're sending out these reports and the follow-ups, do you get people that say, oh yeah, we already know that? Because now, like when we started in real estate, we were the ones that had the power. We were the ones that had all the information, and, other agents didn't even know what we sold. The sellers, buyers, the local people didn't know what we did, and we held all the cards.
Yes.
Do you find now, how does that affect you with the public knowing what you know?
Well, I think they do and they don't, because a lot of times if you look at the data online, so if you get someone who's very kind of analytical and wants to do the research, they can probably get a good chunk of it. But even still, some of the sold data you've got to either, pay for or have some sort of, access, RP data or some type of access to get. So I still find that most of the people don't have the full amount that we do. And also what I find too, I guess it's probably different areas, but, around here, we're working class, so our median price is below the Perth median. So a lot of, first home buyer, working class type suburbs. And so we haven't had we haven't had too much of what you're talking about. For the most part, it's information they don't have easy access to or haven't researched on their own.
Right. Because, you do get the ones that say, I've just Google Earthed it, and so, I don't, it's got the apartment complex next door, and I've looked at the photos from realestate.com from when it's sold. Like, And it's just like, I wish I could cut all this information off that they couldn't see it. Just come and have a look at the house.
Oh yeah,
But,
definitely from the buyer point of view, the amount of info that's there and history of on the market prices, sale prices, all that kind of thing has changed things.
Yes.
And I think one of the ones that's caused one of the most problems is I think the banks and the brokers trying to help with the RP data auto valuations. And so, which I've basically banned from being used in my office because sometimes they're spot on and sometimes they're 150 grand out.
Yes.
But buyers come in, using those, then you have to kind of, re-educate and go through, okay, let's do direct comparisons. I'll get you a complete list of sales and kind of working through it with them and explaining, how those auto val programs work.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been an issue.
And it can be dangerous, can't it? Yeah, like you said, they can be so way out. And it's like I've been to, say, when you go to a doctor, a specialist, and I've been to a specialist before and I've researched something and I've asked them about it and they've gone, oh no, that can't happen. And you think, well, I've read 5,000 articles online that says that it can, right? So a lot of the time, the patient can go in knowing more than the specialist from what they can research. And real estate agents have to be careful that buyers and sellers aren't more knowledgeable than what you are. You need to make sure that you know your market, you know what's sold, you know what's for sale, you know all of that, because otherwise you can quickly look like they're the specialist and not you.
Oh, agreed. Agreed. So a lot of the things I read each week, we've got all the publications that come out from, REWA and RP Data and all those as far as exactly what's in the market, how long things are taking to sell. So you need to be able to quote average sale times, how, all of those things, what the rental market's like, what's changed, what it was like a year ago, what it's like last week, all that kind of thing. Because you're exactly right. Otherwise, you'll easily run into people who know more than you.
Yeah. And I think, like we said, I think that's what's going to change over the next 5 years, that the agent has to be the specialist. They can't be the generalist anymore. They're going to have to be the specialist in their marketplace, I really think. Okay, so now what's your top 10 tips for those looking to succeed in real estate?
Okay, in no particular order. I think the main one's sweat. So this is a hard work kind of job. So at the end of the day, it's I think it was Tom Hopkins years ago, but just saying commission only sales is the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work on the planet, and that one's always kind of stuck with me. So step one, you got to be able to be ready to work. Some of the others we've sort of touched on already, but organization is key. You can't do volume unless you've got good systems in place for how to deal with 20, 30 active listings at any one time, let alone hundreds and thousands, hundreds or 1,000 people in the database, over time. Prospecting is very important. This one's changed, I think, over the years. It's much more important to work a patch now rather than the database. Just in general, people are less loyal. When I started real estate, it was pretty much you meet people, you put them on your database, you keep in touch. Most agents won't do it, so they'll come back to you. Less true now. More people will go with with this information on the internet. People want the person who has sold the majority of houses in the suburb, has the contacts, has the buyers, knows the suburb inside and out. So I think that's was always something we tried to do, but I think that's more important now. Because the amount of past clients I've had who've been happy with me, but I don't get the listing when they're selling again. If they're selling out of area, is much more than it used to be. So I think that's real important. Service we mentioned, it has to be a high service gig. The only way you get to a good level of repeat referral business is if it's high service. Time management is very important. So if you're not good at it, that's one of the things reps tell me all the time. And also, if we look at a traditional personality of a salesperson, they're good with people, but not the most organized. So that's fine.
Not good with paperwork.
But you have to get good at that. There's no way you can do volume without good time management. Training and learning is critical, so you just got to kind of keep at it.
I'm waving at the people in the background. He's putting his glasses on. Hello. Hi. Hi there.
That's my team. That's Luke and
Hi, team. Hi there. He had to put his glasses on and then he looked over. Oh, hi. That's like me. I'm turning 50 next week and, glasses. Anyway, whatever. Part of it.
we just had my wife's 50th. So, the 50th birthdays there. Yeah, there's a bit of coming to terms with those ones.
Yeah, I bet you I start getting ads on, on Facebook for glasses, and oh
Because
God, I can just
we've
imagine.
mentioned it and the computer's
Yeah, I know.
listening.
Imagine what I'm going to get. All the old people stuff, dentures, and
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
So training and learning are very important, and that's just got to be a continual one. So you just got to kind of come to terms with that. As it's probably you could have gotten away with it a bit more in the old days when things didn't change so much, but they do change so much now. So we're always looking, okay, what's next? What's the latest technology? What are we doing now? How are we changing marketing?
Yes.
So we're spending less on the database now and more on Facebook and all those types of things.
100%.
But just got to kind of keep up to it. I think because this is such a high pressure, high stress gig. Self-care is very important. So all of the typical exercise, diet, meditation stuff that a lot of people hear about, but don't really want to do.
Yeah.
It really improves how much stress you can handle and how well you can handle it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real key one. Look, I think one of the simple ones I put in there, but you got to like people.
Oh, yes, yes.
This is an industry where over time it is very easy to become very jaded and very cynical and just kind of get grumpy and not really like people. So very important. As a general rule, you like people. It's not something you force yourself to have to do.
Yes.
Look, I think a team player is very important. This is a solo sport, but being a team player makes a big difference with the office. You're still going to have relationships with the other reps in your office, with your management team. And as much as possible, that should be, complementary relationships, not adversarial.
Yeah.
So I think being a team player is very important. And then the other one, Tom Panos always harps on about, which is you play the long game. So there's no short-term fix in this industry, but it is one where if you do the right things over, months and years, you can have a much more successful career than you could have as a fly-by-night approach.
That's right. It is a long-term game, isn't it? It is.
Yes.
It's not something that you come in 5 minutes, and I think agents need to be aware of that. People new to the industry, that it is the hard yards. You've got, I think, 18,000 on your database, and it's like, yeah, you've got to build those things up with time. But I just took a couple of little notes when you were talking. Then was liking people. Like, I can't believe how many agents I've heard say, I don't like buyers.
Correct.
How do you not like buyers? They're part of the transaction.
Correct.
It's like, I just don't understand. And so many are proud of that. They're saying, oh, no, I need this. I don't like buyers. And it's like, are you for real? It's the other side of the transaction. Without a buyer, you've got nothing. You've got to like sellers and buyers. You've got to like the process. You've got to become a problem solver, and you've got to be able to get these two people together, and you've got to be able to see it from each side and get it together. You have to like both.
Yeah.
Which it's crazy.
Yeah.
Then another thing that I was going to mention that I forgot to say before is the virtual reality. Like when we were talking about the future and what agents becoming the specialists. That's something with the new generations coming through. I can't see them going, I will drive an hour to look at a house. It'll be, Matt, I'm not getting in the car for an hour. I want a virtual reality tour.
Sure.
I can see that's happening. Some agents are doing it now.
Started with the Matterport technology, so that's kind of step one with that. So and that's becoming mainstream now. So
exactly. But can you imagine, like, it'll be put the headset on, you can walk in, open up cupboards, and do all these things and walk around, and like I can see that becoming part of the future with this generation. So sure. I think it's exciting. Like a lot of agents are scared about the technology. I mean, we had a few hiccups with our technology, as we said, but it's going to get better and better. But I think we've got to really embrace the technology and be excited about it, not be scared about it. And you're doing the right things. You're doing video marketing, and you're doing all those things, and you're making sure your SEO is right, your search engine optimization, and that's how I found you. I think I typed in the top agent in your area, and you came up. So, and then I watched your video, and then I was like, wow, I like this guy, and that's the power of video as well, to be able to sort of feel that somebody just by looking at the video and thinking, that's really good. I align, or they align with your values, or you think. And for your video, I thought as a seller, well, really, I've got that as proof now. If he doesn't contact me, I've got that as proof. So I felt kind of like I had a guarantee that, I had some surety that you would take care of me if I was a seller. And I think that's the power of video, and also having testimonials of other people saying that. That's the next step with that. But and that's how I thought I want this guy in my book. So So anyway, so this is the book here. So I've just got them. I've ordered them to be printed. So this is the proof. So this will be on the way soon. This is Matt's tips in here, wisdom. So it's sort of everything that you know, your tips in here. Well, not everything you know. That'd be a couple of novels, wouldn't it? But your top tips for success in real estate. So I'll be sending you that as soon as it gets off the printing press. I really appreciate you going in the book. I really appreciate your time today. And
my pleasure. No, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to me. It's been great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And I look forward to see what you do in the future as well with your real estate and your business.
Lovely. Thanks again, Lisa.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks.